So, good morning. I know I've been a little MIA. Had some things going on, and this past week to 2 weeks, everyone kind of knows I had some bleeding that started, and so we were having to figure out what was going on. And I've been resting. I was put on light duty / bed rest. And so I wanted to update, kind of tell you what's gone on in this past week-ish and a half, 2 weeks, that I haven't really spoke to anyone about because I've been praying about whether to release it or not. Just because we go through something or have an experience doesn't mean we're supposed to release it. And so I've really prayed about if I'm supposed to release this or not. And I do feel like I am. I know that this is going to go over some people's heads. Some people are not going to believe this, and that's okay. They're just not ready. And when they are, come back to the video and it'll help you. So at the beginning of summer, we always have, or in the past have, gotten snacks and things that we would normally eat. So it's more like junk food, ice cream. And so the summer was no different. Summer started, was about the same time that this other stuff was happening. But I did a Walmart order, and I got all of the junk food for us to do what we were going to do, what we had planned to do, Dr. Pepper floats, and because we don't do root beer for that reason. And so we got different Dr. Peppers and different kinds of ice cream and chips, and these are just, some of this is how people live all the time, and I have no condemnation, and I'm not condemning anyone, but things that we have recognized over the last 10 to 12 years, we have slowly cleaned up our diet. And so slowly we have taken things out. We have slowly stopped going out to eat, and just eat at home. We eat clean, or we try to eat as clean. And we don't eat completely clean, but we're cleaner than what we used to eat. And so I don't even go down the snack aisle. We don't really do chips and things like that. So anyway, I had gotten all of this stuff. And through this other situation with my pregnancy, I felt in the last 2 weeks like something was really off. And I really couldn't put my finger on why, because I know who I am. I walk in who I am in Christ. I know the Lord's got me. I've known about this pregnancy for 3 years, and now I'm in it. But I was having thoughts that I felt like I couldn't control. They were becoming very intrusive and very compulsive, almost very obsessive almost. And they were not good, obviously. But it was about the pregnancy. It was about the baby. It was about what kind of mom I am. It was about imposter syndrome. It was all of these things. And it was like that for a week. I couldn't get out of it. When people would contact me with stuff, I knew what to say to them because I know the truth, but I didn't necessarily feel it in my spirit like I normally do. And so I started praying, and I had been praying every day, still doing my daily thing with the Lord, but it was it was just reaching a ceiling. I just wasn't getting answers or something I'm used to, and I wasn't hearing from the Lord like I'm used to. And so I'm like, God, what is going on? So about the end of last week, toward the end, Thursday, or no, it was the beginning. It was Tuesday. So I had been down for now over a week, and Tuesday, or resting and, not doing a whole lot or whatever. So Tuesday, I had an appointment to get my hair cut. And so if you see in some of my other videos how thick my ponytail was and now how thin it is, I got a haircut. And so I was really excited about my haircut. I really wasn't bleeding that much anymore, but it was still kind of there off and on. And I was like, I'm just going in faith to get my hair cut. Like, I've got to get out of this house. And so I did. I went and got my hair cut, and I drove myself there, and I drove myself back, and I was okay. And I prayed the whole way, and, talking to the Lord. And as I was praying on my way there, some things started to come to me. And as I was praying on my way home, more things started to come to me. And so that night, I didn't really have a chance to sit with what was coming to me, but it was just kind of like I was taking mental note to be able to sit with the Lord quietly when I had the time. And so I get home, and, we do our daily things or whatever. I get the boys to bed when it was time, and I got in my bathtub, which is like a gold mine for me. I like to just be able to sit in the bath and just listen for the Lord. Sometimes he has me research things. Sometimes I'm reading my Bible. Sometimes it's just quiet. It just depends on what God tells me to do. But so I had my phone there in case he wanted me to look something up or research. But I was really just like, Lord, you showed me this and you told me this, and what does that mean? And so I was really just sitting with the Lord on what some of those things he had brought up to me was in prayer as I was back and forth at the hair salon. And so with that, he had me in the prayer earlier. I said, Lord, it's like a disconnection. I have a disconnect. And I know that's not you, because you don't disconnect from us. That would have been something I did. And so I'm like, what is it? What has got me disconnected? And I'm like, but it feels like a deeper word than disconnect. And I immediately got the word disassociation. And I was just like, yeah, that's what it was. And I'm like, thank you for that word. Now, I didn't fully have this understanding, I guess, of the full definition of the word, but I knew that felt, that's the word. So in the bath that night, I started doing the research on dissociation, and that's exactly where I was. Disassociation is done through, it usually happens to people who have had trauma. It is a way that the brain protects itself from a traumatic experience. And so as I'm reading the definition, and I'm kind of going into experiences, and I'm thinking back to my childhood and my life, this made complete sense. It is a trauma response to an experience that you can't understand. And the brain kind of begins to disassociate from its full reality. Now, there are different severities of this. You have a mild case of this, you have moderate, and then you have severe. And it's kind of like disassociating from reality. So I knew when I read the definition, I'm like, this is what I was experiencing, because you're living life and you're doing your normal things that you would do almost on autopilot. But being in it, you're not really in it. And so I was trying to figure out why this happened and when it started. So of course that becomes my next thing. I'm like, okay, Lord, I started to disassociate, but why? And I don't understand how, because I walk in the Spirit. And so over the next couple of days, the Lord began to show me that my spirit was asleep. And I was just like, what? Right? I remember spiritually praying. I remember get up, sleeper. I remember saying certain things to myself, reminding myself of God's word, reminding myself of my authority, reminding myself of, even with a pregnancy, speaking God's word over my pregnancy. So I'm just I don't feel like I was asleep, but was it so this has been very confusing to figure out, which is why I was very careful whether I'm supposed to put this out here or not, because to some people this is going to sound absolutely nuts, what I'm about to say. To other people, They've already experienced it, and they're going to be like, yeah. So, through the disassociation happened due to prior trauma, and that was how my brain kind of did its thing. But spiritually, what happened was I had opened myself up to certain foods, the chips and the sodas and whatever. And see, I don't drink dark sodas really. I usually only, if I drink sodas at all, it's like a Sprite Zero or Twist Up Zero, which is the Walmart brand. So they're all like clear. We stopped drinking like corn syrups and all of that stuff a long time ago. It just doesn't do anything good for your arteries or your body. And so, the Lord started bringing to me what I've been eating. And I was just like, and I'm still reading my Bible through this time too. And so I happened to read through, I think it was Romans is what I was in. And it talks about, I can't remember what chapter I was in, but it talked about you are what you eat and things like that. And I was just like, what? Right? So I started thinking about what I had been eating, and came back to, I should say, like the chips and the ice cream. And before this, I had only had ice cream like one time in the last 6 months. And now I had ice cream every night for like 2 weeks. So I'm like asking the Lord how this connects. And literally, I'm on Facebook looking at videos, and this is what God does with me all the time. A video pops up, and it was from K-Podge, and not everybody follows her or believes her. She sounds centric to some people, but anyway, I was listening to her, and she starts talking about food, and she starts talking about how food puts us spiritually to sleep. And as I was like, pause the video, and I'm like, Lord, wait, right? And it was like, yeah, you went back to old ways of eating, and so your spirit went to sleep because you weren't feeding your spirit with healthy things. Your body is a temple. Like, all of the verses started coming to me, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to sit with this. This was a lot because I thought a long time ago, when I was like taking foods out and it was just to eat healthier, I never really put together that the food I took out of my system and out of my body and out of my pantry and out of my children was really helping them spiritually. I just knew it was helping their body, right? Like just eating healthy. And when I say healthy, I mean we eat like fruits, vegetables, meat, and a starch-ish. Sometimes it's like mashed potatoes, sometimes it's rice. We do noodles, but not a lot of them. And so, and I mean, we still eat certain things that are not considered organic or, the healthiest choices, but for the most part, these are the way that we eat, is fresh fruits and vegetables all day long. And so I really had to sit with this, and I'm like, this almost sounds bananas. But the more that I looked over my life, the more that I looked over my growing up and our eating habits, the more that I start looking around at people, and not with judgment, but with understanding. Because I've prayed for so long, like, Lord, why are people so spiritually asleep? Like, why can they not see what is in their face? Like, I know not everybody has the gift of discerning of spirits to know what spirit is operating. But like, when we look at our world, when we look at what's going on, how are people not awake to know that there's evil out here? How are people still sleeping to not understand the spiritual aspect and realm of things? Like, how is that? And I started getting the answer this week. It's how people eat. So I'm not going to say who it was, but I had a friend that talked to me a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was probably a couple months ago now. And I didn't think about it, but he has said the same thing. Like he eats clean, their family eats clean, him and his wife eat clean, they're close friends of ours. And that he started eating like fast food, going to work or whatever. And he was convicted about fast food, and he was like, I've always done this, or I've always, like, what's wrong with this? And he was trying to read the Bible, and he was praying about wanting to understand. And it was like, when you eat certain things, it spiritually is like a block. It is a spiritual block to your spiritual veins to get the circulation and the flowing that you need. And so this isn't crazy to me. I did have to sit with it and make sure that I was hearing on the Lord and not just, whatever. But we had even had pizza that week. And now we make our own pizzas at home. But we had gotten pizza. And so I was like, okay, this is like a lot. And I had to, like I said, I had to sit with it. So the last couple of days after now finding this out and piecing all of this together with the Lord and seeking and looking in his word and what the word tells us to eat and all these things, I have no doubt. I have no doubt that the enemy took full advantage of me being spiritually asleep. No doubt about it. My kids were going crazy. My boys were like out of control. Joe has felt, he said, like sluggish and brain fog. Like it was hard for him to think. Taken started having like gastro issues and constantly tired. And I realized then it was something that I agreed to. It was something that I brought in my home. And it was something that affected all of us. And since we have not had Dr. Peppers and ice cream and all of the things that we had bought, pizzas and just junk, and we started filling our bodies back with fruits and vegetables and meat, like real food that God has given us to eat to actually nourish our body. Joe said the brain fog is gone. Tegan said our gastro issues are done. The boys are starting to get back simmering down. And that doesn't mean that they don't move or talk or play, but like it's not intensified through their behaviors, as well as myself, as well as I'm starting to hear from the Lord on revelation after revelation, like I'm used to hearing. I woke up this morning with certain people on my mind to pray for, and see, these are my normal things. I didn't get those for like a week and a half, and I felt just very lost. I do have a new compassion, I feel like, for people who really don't have a connection with the Lord. That week and a half felt miserable to me, especially knowing that I hear from the Lord, especially knowing that I know his voice and I wasn't hearing it. And that left me sitting with the Lord going, okay, what do I do? I can't make people wake up. And there are times I've been like, people, wake up from your slumber. And I didn't understand that they don't know. They keep putting themselves back into a slumber. I am an everyday, average, ordinary country girl that lives in a normal town. I don't have any reason at all to bring this on here and be mocked and be ridiculed and all of the things and it not be true. I encourage you that if you feel like you are not hearing from the Lord, I encourage you that if you feel like spiritually you're trying but you can't get anywhere, like I encourage you to start looking at your diet. And that doesn't mean you just take a break from the junk food. That means you repent from the junk food. Because the junk food is good because it's meant to keep you coming back. In the very beginning of time, that we know, that we understand, the enemy used food for Eve to trap her, to make her fall. And then she gave it to her husband. I was no better than Eve. Myself, no better than Eve. He got me with food too. Things that I knew better than to eat. But it's tradition and it's this and we always do. And he's like, but what we've always done, we're not doing anymore. What you've always done kept getting you in a place you didn't want to be. So it's time to make a change. I've repented. Oh man, I have been so grateful this past week. I feel like I'm awake. I feel like I'm back to myself. The bleeding is stopping, so I'm still on light duty, but I'm not on bed rest anymore. I've been able to go to the store. I have been able to take my kids out yesterday. Like, we have plans today to go to the pool with friends. Like, it's like life woke up again. And again, I know for some this is going to be really hard. But I encourage you to really sit with the Lord and just test him in this. And I mean, that doesn't mean test the Lord your God, but like fast something. Just fast something. Ask God to show up in your fasting. And fast with true purpose on to see him. On to see him move. On to hear him in a new way. On to see how he does things in life. Like, really, for real, with all heart, if you want to see change. Because I said this in a class that we had earlier this week. You know, sometimes things don't change because we give it to him, but we give it to him like this. And he's like, I can't even get to your hand, what's in your hand. And instead of opening our hand so that he can truly take it, we say we're giving it as we still hold on to it. And he can't do anything with that. But he can do everything with this. And this is a posture of take what I have, and also it's open-handed to receive what he gives you. This is the natural spiritual exchange of take what I have and give me what I need. And when you're like this, neither one can happen. I encourage you today to do that. My heart is totally for you. It's totally for you. I look around and my heart breaks with people that are spiritually asleep. And they don't even know it. I didn't know it either. I didn't understand it. The disassociation was the spirit asleep. I didn't know. And I've been walking with the Lord for a long time. And this was something that I even told my husband. I'm like, I feel like he allowed me to go through this, which was heartbreaking in the time frame. But now I get it. He allowed me to go through this. Because he knew when I sat with him and he said go, I would sound the alarm on it. I encourage you, friend, go through your diet. See what you can cut out. I have a lot of people say, I can't cut out my caffeine. I'm not telling you to cut out your coffee. I don't even drink coffee. I have caffeine packets from Walmart and water, and that's what I drink. I don't drink sodas anymore. And I mean, I did obviously this past week, but on a normal basis, I don't drink sodas, especially dark sodas. And I did, and they were good. And guess what? I paid for it, just like Eve did. So, which it's crazy because in the book of Genesis, she eats and she is enlightened, right? And now the roles have been reversed. The enemy uses food to put you spiritually to sleep. Can't tell me there's not something to that. There's no such thing as coincidences. There's just such thing as revelation. So I encourage you to sit with the Lord. I encourage you to do your own research on what certain chemicals that are in foods, maybe that are in some of your favorite foods, do to your body, do to your brain, do to your thinking capacities. They're not going to tell you that they put you spiritually to sleep, but when you research certain things, you can kind of put the pieces together for yourself. And I encourage you to do that. I just felt like this was something I was supposed to put out here. Again, if you agree with it, if it helped you, I'm thankful. If it didn't, and this is way over your head and you can't believe this, that's okay too. But this has been my experience in the past 2 weeks. This has been my experience when I know God talks to me. And with the ministry that He has me in, it's very important that I can hear His voice. So I will not be going back to junk food. Won't be doing it. Hope this was helpful. If you need me, I'm here. Reach out. Put a comment. Do a like. Share the video with somebody who needs it. And I just hope everyone meets God where you are and let God meet you.